Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Join with me are my co-host, Joseph.
Hello.
And Jehu.
You know, it genuinely never fails that most of the time, like for 50 minutes a week, you sound perfectly normal on this thing, but the moment you do the intro, you sound like you're getting sucked into the Matrix. Every week. I don't know why.
I will take that as not a compliment, but I do the best that I can.
It's not your fault. I just don't.
Yeah.
It's some sort of bizarre. I don't know what it is, or maybe that's just what your voice sounds like on the other end. Maybe something's happened to you during COVID times that I don't know about.
I got one of those new Elon Musk brain implants, whatever those things are called.
What?
You haven't seen this? Cyberlink or whatever.
I know this is not what this podcast is about, but no, we have to talk about this for just a second.
Elon Musk has made this thing that they will cut out part of your brain or your skull and put in like a little microchip that connects to your brain.
And then what happens?
I don't know. He talks about all these things with like future updates where like you'll be able to hear a language and the chip will process it. And you'll be able to understand what they say. I hate Elon Musk
so fucking much.
There's literally been 9 episodes of Black Mirror as to why this is a bad idea.
Sure.
But apparently he's doing it. You can look it up. I think it's called Cyberlink.
That's where Black Mirror is where Elon Musk goes to get new ideas.
100%. We're not here to talk about Elon Musk or Black Mirror. We're doing a November news roundup, as we have done, starting with some sad news. 2 icons, one more so than the other. Alex Trebek and David Prowse died. Trebek died a while ago. Darth Vader died like 3 days ago. But
yeah,
some point. Sad news either way. Both terribly sad.
Yeah, I mean, hey, did we talk about Alex Trebek on the last time this happened? I can't remember.
No, we talked about Sean Connery last time.
Oh, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of iconic people. You know, like Alex Trebek has been kind of a fixture for literally generations of people on television. And granted, he's a fixture for making you feel dumb by correcting smart people about things that they get wrong. But a fixture nonetheless. And it's sad to see him go.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that show really is one of the only times that just average normal people watch something where people are behaving smart. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
You know, and Alex Trebek really, I think, you know, his charm and, you know, his sort of deadpan delivery is a large part of what sold that to, you know, Cheeto eating middle Americans. So, yeah, that dude will be missed.
Yeah, it was sad. I mean, I'm one of those guys that will watch the reruns of Jeopardy on Netflix. Like, I just really enjoy that show. And you're right, Jehu. I mean, he is like the best part. And it's terribly sad.
And then, you know, David Prowse just makes me think about David Prowse getting kicked out of Star Wars, essentially. So it is sad. It is sad that another human being died in general. But, you know, functionally in the Star Wars world, he's been dead since, I don't know, like the 80s.
Well, it's sad because it now means more of the original main cast of Star Wars
That's true.
is dead than not dead, you know? Like, you know, they're leaning on the dead side.
Man, I just want to say, XKCD, you guys know the webcomic XKCD? They do little stick figure drawings. It doesn't matter. But he's like a math guy. He did a statistical, like, sadness map of how long it would take for most of the Star Wars cast to die. And, like, 2 weeks later, Carrie Fisher died. So I'm 100% blaming that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, there's like a famous picture with like a lot of the original cast, and like the only 2 surviving members are like Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford.
How the fuck is Harrison Ford still kicking it?
Pot?
I mean, he was like the old guy of the cast, too,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, crazy. Well, move on. Go ahead, Jehu.
I was just going to say, if anybody actually wants to see what David Prowse actually looks like in a movie, he's in The Clockwork Orange. You know, the guy who carries around the handicap guy is David Prowse.
Interesting fact. Moving on, my personal favorite piece of news that came out of this month, just because it's insane and I never thought it would happen. Rumor is Alfred Molina coming back for Spider-Man 3. I don't know if it was confirmed for Doc Ock, but that is definitely the assumption.
Now, I just want to be clear. We talked about this, I think, on the last time we did one of these episodes about the prospect of kind of a multiverse in the live-action Spider-Man movies, and I feel like I was the only one well on board from it on the outset. Does this change y'all's mind?
As in that we're excited for it, or that we think it's going to happen?
Excited for it. I think it seems likely it's going to happen at some degree.
I'm still holding out for it. I would still love it if these guys were just the versions of these characters in the Marvel universe. We just didn't have to watch their origin story. We're under the assumption that their origins were similar to what they were in the other movies. That being said, it's probably going to be the multiverse thing, and it'll probably be awesome.
Yeah, I am in lockstep with Jake on that. It's not what I prefer, but at this point, I'm trusting that they're going to deliver.
They found the best villain and the fastest way to our hearts, and I'm good with it.
I do think if it's a multiverse thing, it means that Sony wants to do something with the previous Spider-Man continuities, because I don't think they would let Marvel just scorch the earth with Spider-Man before they would, right before they let go of the property, because it really, if they do a multiverse where all these older villains show up and the other Spider-Man show up, how the fuck are you going to follow that? You can't follow that. So they've got to have some plans to do something with that stuff afterwards.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have always thought that Sony and Marvel could work out the Spider-Man issue by just having two different Spider-Men. Like Sony just have their own.
Great. Yeah.
And this feels like a way we could do that. Whether you go back to the Amazing Spider-Verse or the Tobey Maguire, and even if you just recast the role, but you just have you're back into those same universes. I don't see what would be the problem, but
I don't either. And particularly, I think we've talked about this on I don't know. Well, it's probably about this about how so much of movie going these days and hype surrounding movies is about crossovers, is about, oh, this person's going to be in this film. Did you hear this might be in some sort of larger universe, or this might be part of this thing that was in the 80s and they skipped 2 movies or whatever? The idea of having 2 Spider-Man and then maybe once every 3 to 4 years have them meet in another movie just seems like you're maximizing your profits on a character.
Right.
You could literally have your own Avengers universe of just Spider-Man characters.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like it's just we have 5 different Spider-Men. One of them is the Marvel one. The other 4, one is Miles, one is Jake Gyllenhaal, but not Tobey Maguire. Like whatever, and it just works out.
Can we please get a shot-for-shot remake of the dance sequence in Spider-Man 3 with Jake Gyllenhaal?
It would be way sexier.
I mean, super fair. He's got crazy eyes, though. Less creepy face, but crazy eyes.
I think all of them should have to do that sequence.
That's a good point.
That's the audition reel.
If they do start crossing between verses, I really hope when they go to Miles's verse, they're all animated.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, I like that.
Alfred Molina is probably the best comic book movie villain ever. So it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm quoted on here saying Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man film, and up there is one of my favorite comic book movies ever. And a lot of that rides on Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. I mean, he's just so freaking good in that role, and I can't imagine who you would recast that character with. Like, we've already knocked it out of the park the first time.
Right. Yeah, there's not really. It's one of those things. I don't know how anybody could do it better. So I'm glad they're bringing him back.
Lots of Marvel news this month. Just recently announced that Florence Pugh will be returning to the MCU. It's hard to say returning because her movie hasn't come out yet. But will be in the Hawkeye Disney Plus series. What are our thoughts, predictions?
Ian had a very hurt-like text with a prediction over the week, referencing a comic book I've never heard of, with her coming back as what was the name of the villain? It's some kind of like Red Widow something.
Yeah. I mean, she's playing. I forget the last name, but I know the character's first name is Yelena, who was the second Black Widow in comics, who later becomes a burn victim and then becomes a villain, which is a common thing to do in comic books after you've been burned. I haven't read the Red Widow things, but I'm assuming that's her returning again as a villain. But yeah, I mean, I don't think she'll be a villain in this, or maybe not in the beginning, but I definitely think that's where they're going with this character.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I feel the opposite, but I guess in a way, I think she's going to have to learn to be Black Widow. I do think she's in the long run going to be our new Black Widow.
For sure.
And who better to teach her than Hawkeye? But Hawkeye's also going to be teaching new Hawkeye in this. So
Right.
I don't know that that's really going to happen. But there was a rumor that she'll be wearing like a Ronin-inspired outfit. So one thing I know that they've done recently in Hawkeye comics is there has been like a different person being Ronin out there, and Clint kind of having to prove his innocence, though there's a twist there. And I kind of wonder if we're going to go down a similar road here, if the Ronin pops back up and is like murdering people, and it's Yelena getting revenge on whoever killed, even though it was death by suicide.
Right.
But eyes kind of turn to Hawkeye, and Hawkeye kind of has to prove his innocence. I could see them going down that road. It's just really hard to say because, I mean, I think Florence Pugh's a good actor, but we haven't seen her in this role yet. So,
right.
Yay.
Let's see how the accent holds up first.
Maybe they'll drop the accent because she gets so good at being an assassin, she doesn't have to talk with a Russian accent.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Moving on, kind of some big news. Obviously, in COVID times, movies are either being delayed, released, and just accepting that no one's showing up, or going to streaming. But we haven't really seen like mega hits that happen yet. But we have heard that Wonder Woman 84 coming to streaming on Christmas Day, and Godzilla vs. Kong, Legendary is selling it to a streaming service. We don't know yet. Kind of surprising since Legendary, I believe, is owned by Warner Brothers, and they have their own streaming service on HBO Max. But yeah, those are big films to go directly to streaming.
For sure. Particularly, I think, Wonder Woman 84, we just came back from talking about Black Widow, which was supposed to come out this past March, and then it was pushed to November, and then it was pushed again. Marvel is still holding strong on their big blockbusters. They feel like, I'm assuming, I guess they feel like the real money is in the theaters, so they're waiting it out. But WB is like, we can't wait no longer. Here's your Wonder Woman.
It's strange that they're doing that with Wonder Woman, because, I mean, really, like, comparing it to Marvel, like, they have this sort of sea of content that really can't move until they do Black Widow. But with Wonder Woman 84, there's really nothing waiting on it. Like, there's no other DC stuff on the pipe behind it. They could hold off it forever, And in any case, they could at very least hold on it till after Justice League to see how that does. But, I'm glad they're doing it. I've already decided, since it's going to be on streaming, there'll be no one in the theater, so I'll probably go see it in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable assumption. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, I think it's time for this movie to come out. This movie was done like 2 years ago or something crazy. Right. It got delayed a year. I think it was supposed to come out in June of 2019 and then delayed to June 2020. And then COVID happened. It's not a good look for the future of movie theaters.
Right.
Theaters need these kind of movies to survive. And at some point, I understand, like, you got this product, whether it be HBO Max or Disney Plus, in the case of, like, Black Widow, where you probably could get quite a bit of money by putting it on there and at least get subscribers for a month or something. But I still think at the end of the day, after you compare Mulan and Tenet, the response to both of those, I think the future is still in the movie theater. We just gotta be able to get back to movie theaters.
Yeah,
we just got to get past this.
And the last time that I talked to Ian, he brought up a good point. He's still living the life, which is that a lot of these production companies are holding out, waiting for the better times to bring things back to theaters. But if there's no money going into the theaters, there may not be theaters by the time that they want to release them.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about going to see a movie this last weekend, and we're like, oh, what's at the movie theater? and like Frozen and the Santa Claus were taking up theaters. Like it's dark times.
On that Black Panther the Marvel seed content, we did get confirmation Black Panther 2 going into production. I think starting filming in July. They will not use a Chadwick Boseman double or CGI face like they did Paul Walker in that one Fast and the Furious movie where they did that.
Good choice.
Yeah, great choice. What is this movie going to be about?
Anybody got any theories? I have my theory, but I don't know if I want to open.
I think it's going to be Shuri. She's been Black Panther before in the comics. Letitia Wright is a great actress. I think people really connected with that character. If the first 10 minutes is watching him die, it's going to be terribly sad. That's the hardest part to me, is how do you make that transition?
I mean, that's the question. Person? So they said they're not gonna CGI him in, but they also, as far as I know, they haven't said that they're not gonna recast. Am I correct in that?
I don't think they are going to, but I don't believe they've said that either.
Right. So I mean, there is still an opportunity to just create a new star in a new Black Panther, which, granted, it's big shoes to fill. It have to be, a fairly well orchestrated and charismatic changeover. But, I'm not opposed to the Shuri thing. I think that's definitely where they were leading eventually, or even, potentially some kind of Iron Man replacement for her. But, I think just killing off Black Panther because the actor died may or may not be like the story beat that they were going for.
Yeah. I would also say I wouldn't mind Winston Duke. I wouldn't mind him taking over that role if done the right way. All right, Hurt, let's hear your crazy theory.
Okay, mine is I think everybody's saying Shuri, and I think she'd be good for that eventually. But if you go in that immediately, that would be basically like in the next Bond film, Q was Bond. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, and I agree. That was why I felt like that was premature.
I think she would have to go through some stuff, unless you're just going to go wacky, unless you're going to go with, it's crazy that she's Black Panther now, because she's really, at this point, she's more of a wise ass. Like, she's not really, it would be a different character with her as Black Panther right now. I've heard a lot of theories going around, but who I think will end up being the Black Panther in the next movie, and this is just wild speculation, I think it'll be Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, that's another popular one I've seen going around.
I hadn't seen anywhere. I thought I was a genius, and it just came up with it all on my own.
It would confuse people in like 30 years if they went back and rewatched it.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is I think you start the movie with something like Black Panther is missing, presumed dead. Shuri decides, well, I know there's this, Panther spirit realm. There's got to be a way to bring him back. So the next Black Panther movie is about Shuri trying to bring back the Black Panther. She knows there's not a way technology to do it. So she has to find someone mystical to maybe help her, maybe even do Baron Mordo at that point, which, man, it sucks that guy's already in a Marvel movie, because he would be a great recast. But anyway, so they do the whole thing. They try to raise the previous Black Panther from the dead, and the person they bring back is instead, Killmonger. And so in that, you get a 1-2 thing. You've got him back as the Black Panther. You've got him trying to do a redemptive arc to sort of, undo the things that he did. And you find out that the Black Panther is not dead. So at some point, there may be the opportunity for a recast. And, maybe the next movie, he doesn't do a great job as a Black Panther, and then she's got to take over. Basically, you do your, tried and true comic book method of having a darker version of the superhero take over and have to be taken out by a more traditional version. That's where I think they go. They've never really done that type storyline in any comic movies. It looks like they might be going that way in Winter Soldier and Falcon, but I think it could work for this property.
I think that the reason why I say it's pretty popular is one of the things that the internet has pointed out is that there are no more heart-shaped herb. So you only have two people within continuity who have taken it and are you see him dying, you don't see him dead, right. But so it'd either be Killmonger or T'Challa. And
I
so
also just
like,
want to
well,
say, in the universe, 2 movies in, we found out that all the vibranium on Earth was in a shiny disc, and then like 2 movies later, we found out, oh, there's a whole country that's got a shit ton of it. Oh, never mind. So I mean, like the heart-shaped herb thing is a pretty easy to get around canonically.
for sure. I'm just saying it's one of the reasons why people on the internet are convinced that Killmonger is going to be it. And I personally think the 2 likeliest people are Shuri and Killmonger. Does that mean it's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know. I think a recast is possible. Like I said, I think Winston Duke would do really well if they found a way to make that work. Especially by that character at the beginning of that movie is not the same character into the end of that movie, and he marches into battle with him in Infinity War. So to me, it would make sense. But yeah, and that's the news. Are we just going straight into Mandalorian? Are you going to say some witty transition thing?
You're driving this train, baby. Like people drive trains, I guess. But
I'm the engineer.
You're the conductor. Lead us.
So the Mandalorian. We missed 2 weeks because of the holidays and whatnot. So it's a double dose. I guess we'll start with the 4th episode, directed by Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Greef Karga himself.
Yeah. Brought back some familiar faces, including Carl Weathers. Gina Carano, Horatio Sands, is that who's the...
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Haven't seen him since the 1st episode.
And that X-Wing pilot guy with the crazy goatee.
Yep.
It's funny. 3 weeks ago, I was sitting here arguing with you about the definition of a filler episode and whether filler was, quality content or not. This is the example I was looking for what I think actual filler episode is.
I disagree. I don't think this is filler.
I don't even get how you talk about this one as filler.
Yeah.
You're going to have to show your work on that.
The first 12 minutes, sure. And I would say, I would agree with you. When I started this episode, so let's just quick overview. Mandalorian returns to Navarro to finish his repairs and helps old allies destroy an old Imperial base. But the first 12 minutes of it, I thought this was going to be like the fillerest of filler. However, like the last 20 minutes hit the gas and it never stops. And then it takes a massive lore dump in the last 5 minutes.
Right. Well, I guess that's really where I feel like, my defining features of filler, in the sense that I don't think there was any character development for any major characters in this. And, it mostly just felt like an opportunity to come back and say hello to some familiar faces that we liked. But, middle towards the end of it, we dump in a huge amount of lore, and that's considered the content.
Well, I do think I would say it's not character development for our main characters, but I do think it's character development for our villains, that we now know motivation and have a better look inside the curtain of what's going on, because this show has really done very little for that.
Actually, good point, because if I was going to call this filler episode, I'd also have to call the General Grievous episode filler in Clone Wars. Yeah. And I love the shit out of that episode. So you know what? I'm halfway walking this one back.
I do agree. The beginning of it felt very filler, though.
The main thing I came away from this episode wondering is, why the fuck isn't Carl Weathers directing more action shit? This was solid fucking Star Wars action.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. It was better than I anticipated from him. And it's good. It is. It's really good, fun stuff there at the end. I mean, there's been a lot of, I feel like, Rebels shit influence in this season, just of the way, and Jehu, you said this when we talked about the Bo-Katan episode, how many episodes of Rebels are just breaking into Imperial base and wrecking shit up?
Right.
But this was most of them. This was a good example of that same formula brought to live action, and good on Carl Weathers for, knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, I was really impressed by it. This in no way, as much as I love this show, a lot of times the action can feel like TV action instead of movie action. The action in this episode felt like movie action.
And while we're on it, maybe we should talk for just a second on the lore dump in this episode.
For sure.
We find out the seemingly, I don't remember what they thought the base was supposed to be, but it wasn't supposed to be an important base. But it seems to be some kind of center for cloning operations. Yeah,
I want to say, if you go back and listen to our very first review episode of Mandalorian, maybe not the first one, but the one where we get introduced with the glasses guy, I said in there that guy was wearing a Camino uniform. That he had like a
Oh
Camino
shit! Did
logo.
you really?
Yes, I did.
Right.
Props to you. Good
Yeah,
call.
definitely.
And here we are, finally getting that shit confirmed. My question was to you guys: do you think those are supposed to be like Emperor / Snoke, or do you think they're going to bring in like Dark Troopers, which is kind of a thing that I don't think is canon anymore?
Well, so they've teased both of those things at this point, but I think this one is supposed to be like an Emperor clone or the Snoke clone, depending on how much they want to follow with the sequel trilogy. Just because the central driving factor seemed to be that the child was used for, I don't even remember what they said, his M count, which is, I feel, very obviously midichlorians.
Midichlorian.
You got to have a lot of those to make an Emperor. So, or any Sith Lord, I guess.
Yeah, the only reason I don't think it would be Snoke or Palpatine is because I think they're going to want to set up an end game they can resolve themselves.
Touche. That's actually a good point.
Yeah, possibly. I believe, and I very well may be wrong, Jehu, you may know this better than I do. I believe Dark Troopers are supposed to be Force sensitive.
You know what? I can't remember a lot about the Dark Troopers, but I think you're right. Aren't they? Where were they from originally? They were from a video game, right?
Correct. Yep, they were from a video game originally, and then they have been in other things. I want to say they're even referenced in one of the films, but I might be wrong about that. Or one of the like the sequel trilogy. I do know that the Palpatine's Legion or whatever and Rise of Skywalker, I think, is supposed to be influenced by Dark Troopers because they were also supposed to be Force sensitive, though that never came up in that film.
Right.
Well, that does open the doors for that also then. So I don't know what they're cloning.
Yeah, I lean to Dark Troopers. I feel like
it would make more sense episode to episode if that was the case.
Yeah, I feel like this show is building to either Gideon or even, and we'll get to it, maybe Thrawn trying to rebuild the Empire. And I also feel like those two guys, Favreau and Filoni, have a major hard-on for random shit that's no longer canon anymore.
I suspect that's accurate, but you know what? To be fair, I feel like most of the hardcore Star Wars fans also have a hard-on for a bunch of shit that's not canon anymore. So they might be talking to the right audience.
That's fair. I do think, though, in their defense, they're fine with like, oh, this is cool. Let's bring it back in a new way. A lot of the fandom just wishes that shit was still canon.
That's right. That's totally. Also true.
Totally. I kind of like the way they're handling it, bringing back cool shit that I like, but with a new, easier to condense story.
Agreed. I 100% on. If you can bring in Mara Jade, then I'm good. You've checked off all the boxes for me of everything else I want. So that brings us to episode 5, The Jedi, directed by Dave Filoni, where we get the first live-action Ahsoka Tano right off the bat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they wasted. This is again a 40-minute episode. The Mandalorian finds Ahsoka trying to free a town from an evil magistrate, and he agrees to help her if she agrees to train the child. I want to go last, so you guys tell me what you thought of this episode first.
Well, first of all, I really liked the introducing her right off the bat. Like, I thought we knew she was coming in this episode, so that was the best way to make it a surprise. It's like, oh shit, we've got this right away. Also, initially, I thought maybe they were going to do Yojimbo with this episode. I was like, oh, right on. They're going to do a Kurosawa that isn't Seven Samurai for once, but then they didn't do it, so that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, man, I feel like Christian's going to say something different than this, but I fucking loved this episode. I thought it was dope beginning to end. I know there's dorks out there that are upset about they don't think the name of Baby Yoda is cool. I fucking love it. That's as Star Warsy as a fucking name can get.
I'm with you.
I don't have any complaints about it whatsoever.
Yeah, so I also watched the Clone Wars series. I feel like I am a fan of a lot of Dave Filoni stuff and the lore that he's introduced, but I should also mention that I half watched the Clone Wars while I was like folding laundry and doing other shit. So I don't have a deep attachment to the very specifics of any of that lore. I just kind of like the general idea of that. So with that in mind, I really enjoyed this and the introduction of, adult Ahsoka, played by Rosario Dawson. Great actress. I thought she looked good. I liked the sabers in general. And it's just, as Hurt mentioned, it's just a super straightforward samurai style kind of confrontation, or setting up the samurai confrontation at the end of the episode, which is fun. Also, Michael Biehn looks like shit.
Michael Biehn looks like shit. And basically played Johnny Ringo again.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I thought he was great in it, though, for that.
Yeah.
I mean...
No, I really enjoyed, like, it was the thing, I saw him, and I was like, oh, who is this ugly guy? And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it's Michael Biehn. And then I really enjoyed it after that.
But it is hard to imagine that guy was Johnny Ringo, though.
Yeah, it really is.
Definitely hard to see it.
I really enjoyed it. The only thing that I don't know anything about and maybe nobody does, about the woman who was like the magistrate with her Beskar staff thing. The staff saber fight wasn't, I don't know. The problem with people using staffs, and maybe this is just me being too literal, I feel like if you're going to use a staff, you should stab a lot more. Like, use the range. I feel like she was putting her fingers in way too much danger. But outside of that, I had a good time with this episode.
I just imagine you in a Mr. Miyagi role, and I fucking love that. You should just stab more. Forget the flipping about and stuff. Just poke her with the stick. You have the longer stick.
It's true. She does have the longer stick.
Yeah. It definitely makes way more sense to treat it that way, especially when someone has 2 laser swords.
Right.
I've watched this episode 3 times.
Wow.
The first time I watched it, I did not like it. The second time and third time, I enjoyed it a lot more. And I'm sure there was some of that was just expectation of live action Ahsoka. The Kurosawa vibes are strong with this episode. In that looks like a set out of a Kurosawa film.
Totally.
Definitely, some of course, the samurai influence and stuff like that, but just visually on a level, it was very Kurosawa-esque. And I thought Rosario Dawson did a good job with Ahsoka. My biggest problem, and I think this is what made me disappointed, is I expected more from Dave Filoni with it. In that, to me, her justification for not training Grogu wasn't very Ahsoka. In that, I watched 4 seasons of Rebels, and in 2 of those seasons, she refuses to train Ezra because she's like, I'm not a Jedi. I don't, subscribe to the Jedi Order. The other thing is Ahsoka literally watched all of the bad shit about the Jedi Order attack her best friend. And then for her to be like, oh, I can't train him because, he's got this attachment bullshit. I want to be like, this doesn't make any sense for the character who we've set up across these other 2 shows. If you had said, oh, I can't train him because I'm not a Jedi. I am just, a force-sensitive person who is trying to do the right thing, on board. That's Ahsoka. If she said, well, I don't really prescribe to the Jedi anymore because 1, they fucked me over, and 2, they fucked over my best friend, also on board. But for her to use like one of these old archaic rules that was used to manipulate a person and turn them to the dark side did not feel like the lessons that Ahsoka has learned over 7 seasons of television that I have, or 9 seasons of TV that I have watched. This didn't feel earned. And I feel like we probably not even could have come up with a better excuse. She's literally already used a better excuse.
Right.
To not train Jedi before.
Yeah.
That was my big complaint.
I think that's a good point, because now that you bring it up, that was something that kind of annoyed me about the episode was just the handoff with little explanation, because so much of the show is go here to find the answer. Oh, it's not here. Go here to find the answer. Oh, no, it's not here either. Go here to find the answer. And I felt like, as much as Ahsoka is cool and I enjoyed meeting her character, like narratively, she mostly just served the function of, oh, it's not here either. Go to this other place. And there wasn't a lot of like good reason.
Yeah.
I'm honestly a little disappointed because I could tell in our texting that you weren't digging this episode. And, I had already laid my trap for you to argue against it, but your logic is actually pretty good. I thought you were going to go with, you just didn't like their take on Ahsoka, where she was sort of more cynical and stuff like that. And I was going to be like, boom, Last Jedi, that's your shit. But you didn't go that way, so you ruined my day.
Sorry, buddy. No, I didn't. I do think there was probably an opportunity or more for her to make like a more Ahsoka quip, like calling the child Shorty or something like that,
Right.
that she would do. But I accepted that she's supposed to be a 45-year-old woman. So, okay, like she's not the same 18-year-old or 15-year-old girl we see in Clone Wars. But yeah, no, just the reasoning to me was like, well, shit, I don't know. What did Yoda say? Oh, he's too old. What's in us? Oh, he fucking likes people too much. Can't train him.
He's well adjusted. Let's not go with that.
Yeah. It also doesn't make sense to me because if he's supposed to age slower, in reality, he's only like the equivalent of a 4 or 5-year-old.
Right.
Is that not the fucking age that people take children, more sensitive children?
Right.
Super fair, but also if he ages that slow, how young was he when he was in the fucking Jedi Temple?
Yeah, agreed. He was like 20 years old, so that puts him at like what, a 6-month-old? Like how old?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't love that bit. I do kind of wonder though if they did not tell us how he was saved or who he was saved by. And my immediate thought, and I know it's crazy, hear me out, Mace Windu.
Mace Windu, yeah, no, for sure, 100% with you.
That's right.
Of course, it's gonna be that.
I'm into that. So do you guys think? Well, first of all, there was other reveals in this episode. Grand Admiral Thrawn's name was dropped. Ezra Bridger was at least alluded to. Do you think that Ahsoka will play a larger part in this show, or do you think this was a backdoor pilot?
I think it's a backdoor pilot.
I think it's a backdoor pilot too. I think we will get an Ahsoka show at some point. That's Ahsoka versus Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Filoni's been asked if Ahsoka in this episode is older or younger than the Ahsoka we see at the end of Rebels, and he won't confirm it. And to me, that means it's younger.
Right.
So I assume whatever the Ahsoka, Sabrine, Wren, Find Ezra, Find Thrawn show is going to be, whether it's live action or whether it's animated, to me was just a setup for that show, this line.
Right.
Because I was Reagan texted me afterwards and was like, "Oh, dude, they mentioned Thrawn. That's crazy. You didn't see that coming." And I'm like, "Man, the last time we saw Ahsoka, that's what we knew she was doing. She was going to find Thrawn and Ezra. Like that was to me that was not a huge name drop unless you don't watch like Rebels and like you don't understand that that's kind of what they've set her up for to be doing anyway."
Which,
right.
to be fair, for the vast watching audience, they don't. So this was kind of their intro.
Which brings me to, I have to argue with someone who's not even on the fucking podcast anymore. So Ian texted that he said that this is disappointing him because he feels that including Ahsoka means he has to watch Rebels or he's missing out. And I just, that thinking always drives me nuts because my feelings on that is this. Cara Dune, we've met Cara Dune. We found out she fought in the rebellion. We've got some hints that maybe things weren't great for her with that. Maybe there's some dark backstory, and there's no show we can go watch where that happened. We just have to assume either we know what we need to know of it, or at some point down the line, the more we need to know will be revealed. I think the only reason people think they're missing something when they see a character on this show who's been in another thing or on any show is because they know the other thing exists. But there's nothing about this that says you actually have to watch Rebels. It gave you everything you needed to understand Ahsoka in this episode. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, I agree.
I think it's well stated. And you know what? If you watch this and you decide, hey, I really like this character, I want to know more about them and hear more of their stories, good news.
right. Yeah.
It's number one, you're dead on. There's any backstory we needed for, like, for example, Ahsoka in this show, we got with that, oh, you're looking for a Jedi? Here's a Jedi I know. Maybe she can train him. That's all you need. To be fair, it doesn't even have to be Ahsoka. That character did not have to be Ahsoka Tano. It just
100%.
works out well that it does. And so it, to me, is not required viewing. I do think, I said this in the text, someone I saw wrote that they think they view it as like its own trilogy. And I think there is some context there. I think but not in that it's one overall narrative. I think this is how Filoni tells Star Wars. And so if you want to watch a cohesive narrative of how one person tells Star Wars stories, you watch these 3 shows. This is how Dave Filoni, and you can make Jon Favreau, who is entered into Star Wars through Dave Filoni. This is how they tell Star Wars stories. And so if I could watch Clone Wars, Rebels, and The Mandalorian, and I could see some narrative that carries over between all of them. For example, Bo-Katan is a character, the pursuit of the Darksaber. That's a plot point in all 3 shows. But you don't have to go back and view all of it. You can just say, oh, this narrative and this storytelling is familiar because I've watched these other 2 shows. That doesn't make it mandatory. It just makes it familiar.
You can also just watch the last episode of the last season of The Mandalorian and be like, oh, that's a cool lightsaber.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what lightsabers are.
If you really need to know the stuff that has already been shown about this stuff, but don't want to watch that shows, I assure you there's around 600 bearded guys on YouTube right now that has it condensed into a 12-minute video for you.
Yeah. So if you would like to know which episodes of those shows you should watch in regards to Ahsoka Tano, feel free to email us because I will be glad to answer.
Because that bearded guy will tell you.
100%.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice the, what's it called? The Morai is in this? I think that's what I'm saying it right. The little owl thing that follows Ahsoka around after the Mortis arc.
I did not notice that, no.
Mm.
So when Mando and Grogu, the child, first enter the forest, and he's like, well, this is the signal. In the tree, the owl is like watching them.
Oh, no shit. That's cool.
Yeah. Joseph, I know since you haven't watched Rebels, it's not as big of a deal for you, but after the Mortis arc in Clone Wars, it continues for a long time. She has a little owl companion that kind of follows around and watches her. And that was true in the show as well.
Cool. That didn't detract from my experience in any way, not knowing that.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
All right. Well, I think we feel like we're good on Mando. I'm assuming the next one we're going to be en route to some Tython,
which is also a former Star Wars thing that was no longer canon that they've now made canon.
And we'll probably get sidetracked or like hit by space pirates or some bullshit for an episode or 2, but we'll get there eventually.
That seems like the formula right now. You set off to the next place of important information, and then something happens to keep you away from it for an episode.
Correct. So yeah, still good. Good show.
Yeah, good show. I agree.
Well, I think that's it for our Mando talk. We've had 2 weeks, so we're gonna. I recommend selective curating here. What have we been watching the past 2 weeks, guys?
I did not watch much. Continuing on the Star Wars train, I watched the Star Wars Lego Christmas special. And
is it making fun of the Star Wars Christmas special?
In some capacity, I think it doesn't really make fun of that. It definitely is better plot-wise than the entire sequel trilogy. It's basically Rey finds a way to get to the world between worlds, and then just was like, oh, I should learn from like old Jedi masters. And so she just pops into random scenes from the prequel and original trilogy, and it's pretty funny.
Right on.
At one point, there's like 50 Anakins fighting 50 Obi-Wans because she just pulls them from like different scenes in Revenge of the Sith. It's a good time.
Do all the Obi-Wans have the high ground? Because that would be pretty funny.
Yes, and there's some pretty good Obi-Wan jokes in there. Overall, I liked it a lot. One weird thing is Mark Hamill is not Luke Skywalker. Apparently, he said he would have done it, but they never asked, which is kind of a strange thing.
But
that's weird.
Yeah. Rose Tico has more screen time in this than she did in all of Rise of Skywalker.
So Ian won't be watching it.
No, he will not. And it is Kelly Marie Tran, I believe. So I'm going to give it better than Transformers. I thought it was pretty good. I appreciated that. Again, talk about a thing that's no longer canon. Mando episode season 1, first episode 1, season 1. They make a Light Day reference like in the first 5 minutes of that show. And then now a year later, here we are like having another Christmas special. So I think it's worth the time. It's on Disney Plus. It's like 35, 40 minutes. You'll laugh if you like Star
They're
Wars
usually
shows.
pretty funny. Yeah, fair enough.
I finally watched Doolittle with my kids. That movie's really bad.
No, yeah, it looked really bad.
It was, and I don't know. It had potential, but it's a weird like balance of things. It just seems like they were making it, and then they stopped making it. Like they were making it, and they were putting like adult jokes and stuff into it, and then they were like, "Well, this is not good. We can't do this. We need to make this for children." And so they're like these really just poorly timed like adult humor jokes, and I mean the voice cast of the animals is pretty good, but I don't know Robert Downey Jr.'s weird Scottish accent thing. Yeah, I don't recommend it. It's worse than Transformers. I'm glad I watched it because I was curious, but I was fine not watching it. And then I watched a couple of Christmas movies, and I'll breeze through the first two of these. I watched The Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen. Haven't watched that in a long time.
It took me 28 years of my life to realize there is an E at the end of Claus.
Yes, because it is the Santa Claus.
That's literally the whole joke.
Well, here's the thing.
They made that movie based on that fucking E.
When I'm whatever age I was when this came out, I'm assuming like 8.
Right.
And if I see clause, a made up word to me, and clause, a word that I don't see at all, they're the same word.
Right.
So in my brain, it's just always, I've just been like, oh, it's about Santa Claus, so it's the Santa Claus. But no, it's the other Claus. This has not made sense in an audio medium, and I'm sorry.
I've just always thought that the origin of this movie was some hack screenwriter was writing a different Christmas movie, misspelled Santa Claus once, and then it's like, oh shit, that's my money. That's the idea. And wrote a new script.
Look, it's a good concept. Some parts don't hold up great, like Tim Allen or the CGI. But I'm giving it better than Transformers. That may be on my new annual Christmas viewing list. One that is White Christmas, still great. The Snow Song, fucking terrible. Everything else, fantastic, but snow, awful. I hate the entire 3 minutes that's going on that train. But I do love that movie, the Transformers. And the newest one I watched is Happiest Season on Hulu, starring Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis and what's his name? Dan Levy.
Yep.
And God, I mean, Dan Levy just is my new favorite person on the planet, as with most people who watch Schitt's Creek. But that movie's really good, and I really liked it. I laughed until I cried, and then there were moments that were sad that I cried. And everyone's really good in it, and I really recommend it, better than Transformers. I'm not a big Christmas movie guy. I don't really like the themes or anything in them, but I like that movie.
You know what movie I'm excited to go back to this year and show Val for the first time is one
The Santa Claus.
You turned me on to, not that one. I don't remember if is it Klaus, whatever it is, the animated one.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to go back and watch that one again because that one's a really excellent new Christmas movie.
Yep. That's it? I'm done.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Hurt, do you want to go? You got 4 minutes.
Yeah, I can keep this really short.
Okay.
Instead of telling you about anything I watched, I was going to share with you my one Thanksgiving tradition. Every year people say they're thankful for their families or America or whatever. And sometimes when people say it, you believe it, and sometimes people don't. I always spend Thanksgiving being thankful for Bill Ward, the original drummer to Black Sabbath. I'll spend the whole day listening to Bill Ward era albums. John Bonham has more soul. Neil Peart was obviously technically better, but I just love Bill Ward more. If you want to see an example of why Bill Ward's such a great, fun drummer, on YouTube, Google, search Black Sabbath Paris War Pigs. It's a clip of them playing in 1977. Bill Ward is such a fucking entertaining drummer to watch. And I truly believe he could have been better than any of them if someone would have just introduced him to the high-tech invention called a ponytail holder. Because he's the whole time he's just beating the holy living shit out of these drums. He's also fighting to keep his hair behind his ears. If you've never listened to a Black Sabbath record, probably the best one to listen to is Paranoid. If you know 4 Black Sabbath songs, 3 of them are on that record. And it's also a great showcase for Bill Ward. My favorite Bill Ward performance is not on that record. However, it's on a song called A Hole in the Sky, which I highly recommend. That's all I got.
Is Iron Man also on Paranoid?
It is, yes.
Yeah, the drums on Iron Man and War Pig are 2 of my favorite like drum tracks. So
yeah,
War Pig's a great track. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, fuck. Now you got to left me 2 minutes. What am I gonna do? Talk fast? Not gonna happen.
Yes, do it. I'm not signing back on. So
are you fucking kidding? Fine. Fuck you guys.
I'm not doing it. I gotta go get my kids.
That's fair. Well, I watched a lot of shit. Some of it was rewatched. Finished up the actual Ghibli films. Watched The Red Turtle again, which is a silent French film produced by Studio Ghibli. It's really, really beautiful. It made me cry. I don't know why. I don't know what it's trying to tell me, but it made me feel things, even though I don't understand what it was trying to make me feel. Rewatched Knives Out, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Clue, all better than Transformers. Clue in particular. God, Tim Curry's so just goddamn entertaining all the time. And then finally watched another anime movie that's not a Ghibli movie called Silent Voice, which is about a boy who bullied a deaf girl when he was young, and then when he was older felt real bad about it and tries to make up with it. And it's just a real sad but nice like redemption-y story, and everybody's trying to like be nicer and be less lonely in the world. And it also made me cry because all animated movies make me cry. Right. But it's I'm not going to say it's a good time, but it's pretty heartwarming. And if that's your kind of thing, I recommend it. But all these things are better than Transformers. And I'm watching God damn it, I don't want to get through it. I can do it. I'm finishing up an anime called God of High School on Crunchyroll, which is essentially somebody who just saw all of the fighting shows and were like, hey, you know what's the best part of all these? The tournament arc. What if we just make a tournament arc a show? And that's what they did. And it's okay. It's too much fighting. There's not enough story, but the fighting's good. Better than Transformers. That's my 2 minutes.
I love that you just never
I'll go
considered.
faster next time.
I can just talk about this next week.
I can't. I'm going to have new things next week. Next week, speaking of, I think we want to do our,
we'll do our pilots.
Pilots episodes. Pilot episode pushed to next week. That's it. Thanks to everybody for listening. Please rate, subscribe, tell your friends. Hey, I can do this, guys. If you want to write into us, tell us what you think about The Mandalorian, you can reach us at realphonies@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at realphonies, on Instagram at real_phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. See you guys later. We're out.
Later. Great job.